Hey Vincent, how are you today? Can't hear you. K-
Hello, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. I think it's starting maybe broken soon because I was turning this up and down and I think it just treated even the down position as if it was faced up.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, quick question. What is my role today?
I don't believe I have you assigned for a role today,
Oh,
but
okay.
would you be available to be either a timer or an evaluator?
Um, I can do evaluator. Well, I can do timer too, either one.
Okay.
I have
Uh,
tools at my disposal for that.
let's put you down as timer, just since you have the
Okay,
backgrounds available.
I
And
do.
then
Yes.
I'll put Sib as the on Marion. Sib mentioned they'd be available to take that on. And Betty is GE. Daniel is table topics. We have our guest as a second speaker if AJ is able to make it.
Okay.
And I think for evaluations, if we don't have any dedicated evaluators, we can just do it a round robin. Have you heard of this book called Ultra Learning before? This was what I was planning to give a
Ultra
talk.
learning?
Yeah. It's a
No,
made
I
up
haven't.
phrase. Okay.
No, I haven't heard that phrase before. So, no.
Okay. I'll be giving a talk on it today. So see how that goes.
Okay. Cool, cool. Virtual backgrounds. Make sure I have my backgrounds downloaded. I do. I have all the backgrounds. Oh,
Perfect.
okay. There we go.
Let me see if I have that one. That one's always a good one to have. It's just like it's like it's a custom made one, right? That's just been being
Um,
sent around.
it's one that I got from somebody for competitions online. So you turn off your you block out your like I think I
Camera.
have it. Like no, my computer does not have the little button, but I could turn off my camera so it doesn't show me, but it shows the background. And so that's the timer. And that way, when you're the timer for a competition, your face doesn't show, just your background. I think
Yeah.
I would put up like a little sticky or something. And because this computer doesn't have the little switch. And so that way they just see the background and they're not confused by your face or your emotions or if you look off in another direction or whatever while you're timing or anything. And so that's nice for speakers.
Yeah, I think it definitely adds to the fairness because I know that before, I remember there were different reasons. I remember for online contests where they wanted to turn off cameras. I think one was either it could create too much lag if there's too many people on
Yeah,
with their cameras all on all at once, but it's also to like make sure that no one emotes or does anything disruptive and distracts the speaker during that time because there's so many people on the camera and bad habits can kick in. You could just be checking your phone or like scrolling, doing something else, and it just throws the speaker off completely.
exactly. Yeah. So it's a good thing to have for an online competition.
Hey Sib,
Sorry,
how's it
so we were
going?
just talking about my background. So where it
Yeah,
says timer in an
yeah.
online competition, I could turn my camera off so it doesn't show my face, but still shows my background.
Okay.
And then that way, it is when someone's doing their speech when they're in a competition. If I'm, looking in a different direction, watching my timing, I don't accidentally, throw off the speaker when they're
Okay.
doing a competition. So it's a nice little thing to have.
Okay.
It's good for
Hello.
online speeches.
Hey, Sanuj. Maybe we
How's
could
it
do it for
going?
like our online contest.
Yeah,
We could try that
easily
for
enough.
next month.
Yeah. And I
Oh,
can
we
always
should
share the
talk
background with
about
whoever
that
has it.
too. Like what the rules and roles are, because I don't think our club hosts contests as regularly, and we don't really
Mm.
worry too much about timing disqualifications or anything like that. So it would be good to just get into the practice of it.
Yeah.
Should we do the same ones that we have for this year? Tall Tales as the specialty one?
Yeah, we should do that. I mean, it's to give everybody practice. And we can hold more than one.
Yeah.
You know, we could because we're doing it in an hour. So we could do Tall Tales one time. We could do the international, and then we could do what's the other one?
There's a humorous, there's evaluation contest, and although evaluation and table topics might be trickier to do because we have to be like, okay, breakout room
Yeah, we could do a
management.
breakout room. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's not so hard. We can do that. I mean, I've done all those contests before, so they're pretty easy to. Well, now that I've done it so many times, it's pretty easy to navigate.
Yeah, at first it was everyone was like, how do we approach everything online? And then we're trying to figure out the atmosphere with COVID. Hey Moad,
Yeah.
welcome back.
Hey, everybody.
Hi Betty. Hey Susan.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So we're just missing one more role, which, or I saw Daniel mention he couldn't make it as the table topics master. If anyone is interested to to do
Hey,
that.
can I switch?
Oh, yeah, sure thing,
Because
Betty.
next week I am out of town, so I don't think I can do the Toastmaster. I can be the table copy masters today. So who can
Yeah,
be?
that would work. Let me go send you the theme as well, Betty, just so you have a heads up.
Thank you.
But you can also make general questions.
Okay. So I can be the table copy masters?
Yeah, you can be table topics. Then we're
Okay.
looking for a general evaluator a, and a dedicated evaluator in case anyone would like to do the single evaluation. And I guess since it's 12:06, we'll say that we're going to start the formal meeting and also try to find roles as well. So welcome everyone to Securely Speaking Toastmasters. My name is Vincent and I'll be your host for today. Before we get started, I want to take a moment, if you can, to please silence your cell phones or put your devices on vibrate or silent. That way it doesn't interrupt you or the other speakers while you're speaking. One thing that we like to do is show this sign of appreciation. It's a silent hand clap whenever there's a transition from one speaker to the next, or when someone uses the word of the day. So let's talk about the theme and the word of the day. The theme I've chosen is chance encounters. There are many things that can happen to our life that's completely unexpected. And one of my favorites is having a chance encounter that changes a habit of mine or changes my perspective on something. So I wanted to it remind me of the time when I first joined Toastmasters. It was just like a chance incident where I met with a coworker who I don't regularly talk to, and he just mentioned, "Hey, check out Toastmasters." And I was like, "Okay, I'll just give that a shot." I showed up, and he wasn't there, oddly, but I became a Toastmaster since that time 9 years ago. So it's been a long journey, and it was because of that chance encounter that really made that difference. The word of the day is fortuitous. So fortuitous, let me get the definition up. It just means happening by accident or chance rather than design. So happening by chance or accident rather than design. For the benefit of the guests, we encourage everyone to use this word of the day in order to expand our vocabulary. Now, before I get into the major part of the meeting, I would like to help welcome the guests. So I see a returning guest, Moad. Welcome back. Just wanted, for those of you us who haven't met you, how did you hear about us and what is your goal in Toastmasters?
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is my, I think, third time coming as a guest. I heard about the club through Toastmasters website. I was looking in this area, and based on San Bruno near San Francisco. So this was a quick match. My goal is to improve my public speaking skills. I need to speak in team events, meetings, etc. So practicing is always very helpful, and I can feel the difference even with a little bit of practice. So looking forward to more practice.
Thank
Thank you.
you. And thank you for being here with us and joining us in our practice. Next, I see another guest, Susan. So Susan, how did you hear about the club and what's your personal goal in either public speaking or in Toastmasters?
So, hi, my name is Susan, and I heard about Toastmasters on TikTok, and I was like, okay, I need to improve my public speaking skills, I guess. And so I went to like the official Toastmasters website, and so like they have like different places. I do live in Sunnyvale, so I was considering going to a physical location, but I wasn't sure if there will be people there. So I said, let me first attend an online session, then see if it's something I will consider trying to go to. But yeah, I do want to improve my public speaking skills. I do believe that with this, it will help me.
Yeah, definitely. And I didn't even know we had a TikTok presence, so I'll have to check this out afterward just to see what the TikToks for Toastmasters, what that would be like. Thank you for sharing how you were able to find out about us. I will give a heads up. We are an online club. I'll have to edit the address for ours. So if you do happen to have a lunch hour where you're available, you can feel free to practice with us anytime. And I can also send a few recommendations if you are interested in an in-person club in the Sunnyvale area.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so we'll get started with the first part of the meeting, but I did want to introduce a few functioning roles for the benefit of the guests to help them know what's happening. Like you'll see colors changing, you'll see people writing down notes, and what's going on. First, I'd like to welcome Sonia, our timer, to help describe her role for today.
Hello, everyone. Today I will be timing speeches to this does two things for us. It helps us keep track, and it also helps us to practice for when we do speeches in competition. Uh, for each speech, I will give warnings when you hit green, that's your minimum time for your speech. Yellow, you're about halfway to your end time. Red means that you need to wrap it up. You have 30 seconds before you are completely out of time. And then at the end of the meeting, I will give you a report on how everybody did. Thank you very much, Vincent. Back to you.
Thank you, Sonia. Next, I'd like to call on Sib, our Marian. What will you be looking out for, Sib?
So my role today is that of Amérian, which stands for A Counter and Grammarian, which means A Counter actually stands for someone who counts filler words. How many filler words people use? Things like some uses of so. And so I'm going to count how many you use during your speech, and I will report that at the end of the meeting. And I am also grammarian, which means that I try to keep track of how many grammatical errors you make and also report those at the end of the meeting.
Thank you so much, Sib. And we are looking for one more role, which is the general evaluator. And in case anyone wants to give this a shot as well, the impromptu speech. Since it doesn't look like our previous guest from last week, AJ, was able to make it for today, the impromptu speaking slot is open if anyone would like to give this a shot. This could be timing from anywhere from 4 to 6 minutes, or it could be from 5 to 7 if you feel like you have a lot you'd like to share. First, I'd like to double check, is there anyone available to fill in as the general evaluator for today's meeting?
I can do that. I can do both the general and EV1 if you'd like.
Oh, that would be perfect. Thank you, Sanuj. Then next, I'd like to double check if anyone would like to take the impromptu speaking slot. Sib, all right. And Sib, I'll just share the question with you now, just so you have some time to think about it and no pressure about like worrying about evaluations for me. You could just think about your speech during that time. So my question for you, and so I'll be giving my speech, then you'll be giving your speech second, is what was a chance encounter that really changed either your habit, or your lifestyle. So that's just something to think about. And was there anyone who could be an evaluator for SIB speech? I'd like to double check, Moad. Have you done evaluations before in your club? And would you be interested? I just love hearing guest evaluators as well, just so we can learn different aspects of how different clubs evaluate.
Yeah, I'm interested, but I've never done it before, so I'm not sure
Okay.
I'm able to provide high quality one. That's the only thing holding me back. But I can try. I mean, that's the downside.
Yeah, definitely. Anything that you liked, anything that you personally would have added if it was your speech, for example. So
All right,
that's
I'll do
great.
it. This is
Thank you so
for
much.
this is for SIB, the second speech. Is that correct? Okay,
Yes, that's correct.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being able to fill in.
Absolutely.
All right, it looks like we have all the roles. So we'll go ahead and get started with the first speech. So I'll be giving the first speech, and for some quick background, for our timer, Sonia, it's going to be a 5 to 7 minute speech. It will be using slides, and personally, I'd like to look out for which part felt a bit rushed or a bit confusing. Because it's an informative speech, I want to make sure that you're able to remember a lot from the presentation. And if you notice that there's any gaps or you're like, oh, I don't think I could remember this, maybe because there's too many points or maybe it was rushed, do let me know. I do want to control pacing and make sure that this can be retained in the future. The speech title is Ultra Learning. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Do you want to learn a skill fast? Or maybe not fast, but maybe it's a skill you actually will remember in the future. I've been guilty of going through countless hours of YouTube videos, more than I'd like to share if I take a look at my history. And oftentimes, when I reflect back at the end of the year, I can barely remember what the video was about. And I started to realize that even though I have a passion for learning, I don't think I retain it properly, or maybe I'm not building the right skill sets or learning in the right way. This led me to a book called Ultra Learning by Scott Young. He mentions tips on how to master hard skills, outsmart the competition, though that wasn't my real goal, but accelerating my career was one of them. And he highlighted a lot of different steps. So he had 9 different processes, but because it's a 5 to 7 minute speech, I'm just going to narrow down to just 3. The first is directness, going straight into the application for what you want to learn. Second is retrieval, how you can self-test yourself in order to learn more effectively. And third, feedback. Don't dodge the punches. In It's like in Toastmasters, we have to be ready to be evaluated at all times and to not be scared of whenever you're in doubt about learning a skill to get that feedback. So let's dive right into the first one, directness. When I think of directness and what is not as direct, and I'm quite guilty of, is I like to learn things in an easy manner. And for me, it was Duolingo. Duolingo is great because it gamifies the process. It makes it easy for me to feel satisfied that, yes, you got it right, Vincent. You're on track to learning Japanese and you're ready for your travel. But when I actually used it when I tried to figure out, how do I say this again? I'm just constantly thinking, there's no multiple choice. I don't have anything quite ready for me during an actual conversation. Directness in Scott Young's case for ultra learning means that you want to practice in the same way the real environment where you'd want to use the skill would be used. So, for example, if you're trying to learn a language, make sure that are you just trying to learn the vocabulary, or are you more interested in actually speaking it? Because Duolingo might help you with vocabulary and sentence structure, but it might not help you in the long run if you want to speak one-on-one. You might use other apps where you're able to talk to someone who can speak that language locally, and they might trade with their language with you as well if you want to help them practice English. So he recommends different apps depending on the exact skill set you want to learn, and make sure you mimic that exact environment. This is the first key concept, directness. The second thing is retrieval. Sometimes you can learn so many different subjects, but it's hard when well, at least for me, I forget my subjects sometimes the day the day of, the next day. It's tough. And I wanted to figure out what's a good strategy for me to learn learn something and memorize it. So retrieval is best for memorization. So in case, for example, you wanted to learn a recipe, or maybe you wanted to actually learn vocab, or maybe you wanted to learn a particular subject of a book. What you'd want to do is, this is one thing that he recommends, which is either Cornell notes or a closed book method, where you're able to write down your notes on one side, but also generate questions that you can quiz yourself on later. So that at the end of the week, you just cover up your notes and then just take a look. Are you able to answer all these questions that you put down successfully? This way, you'll be able to self-quiz yourself, and you won't need to look back at that 20-minute long video. You're able to basically get the essence of what you need based off of the Q questions that you have. So this is just an alternative strategy if you wanted to practice memorizing and quizzing yourself. Just write questions right after you take down your notes. Now the third tip, feedback. So I'll give a pause so you're able to read the screen for the two different types of feedback. And now I'll go into it. So there are two key types of feedback that he takes a look into, advice or assessments. And this is common in Toastmasters and something I had to unlearn as an evaluator. When I hear certain speeches and I try to think, oh, this speech didn't feel right or didn't sound right, but I don't know why. When I sense that, I try not to give that evaluation because I know I would just be putting the speaker down saying, I didn't like the speech, but I can't help you much with how to fix it. So that's more of an assessment. And sometimes that's useful, especially in a larger group setting, because there might be a person that will give advice for what you can actually do to practically correct it. So say, for example, you see how the differences between 3 times 4 is shown. For the advice, if someone said 3 times 4 is 11, you'd say, no, it's actually 12, and maybe for this reason. But for an assessment, it's just saying, no, that's wrong, but I can't tell you what the actual answer is. So feedback is critical, but there are different types of feedback. I often recommend to get the feedback that's advice if you're able to trust the person that you want to get that advice from. Advice can be different per person, and I know that in the example they gave a competition speaker for Toastmasters, actually. I was like, oh, Toastmasters mentioned in this book. But he was mentioning how when he gave his speech to different clubs, he got so much different advice. One that mentioned, you're using too many hand gestures. Another saying, you're not using it enough. And he was confused, not knowing what to choose. But what he noticed was that the more feedback he got, he would count the number of times he saw a certain piece of advice. Like if he saw 5 pieces of advice that said use more hand gestures versus the one that said use less, then he knows based off of that ratio what to do next. So feedback overall works best if you can get a lot of it, but it can be hard because you would want to dodge the punches. In ultra learning, try not to. Take as much feedback as possible. The book has many other tips that you can take a look into if you're interested. We just covered directness, which means trying to apply the skill set directly to where you want to learn it. Second was retrieval, and you can use techniques such as Cornell notes to make sure you have a set of questions to ask when you study in the future. And lastly, feedback. Try to collect as many points of feedback as possible because just one piece of feedback might not be enough. I hope that you use these tips for your next ultra learning journey or project. That concludes my speech. Thank you for listening. So I'd now like to take a minute of silence for us to note down feedback. So for the benefit of the guests, we do have a feedback form, and that way we keep track of all the feedback in the future in case we ever want to do the speech again, or we, again, begin to notice a pattern if people constantly say, Vincent, you're talking too fast. Then I know if I see a lot of those, there's something I can work on. I'll be posting the feedback form shortly in the chat. And Sonia, you can just let me know once 1 minute is up.
While you do this, I actually have a question.
Yes.
So, usually during these times when I give a speech and we have this feedback minute, I do get the feedback from maybe my EV from other team members. Is that something that I should be providing to you, Vincent, as an EV, or is it okay if I wait until I present my EV topic?
Yeah, you can wait until you present your EV topic. So you don't have to send it directly there. I'll be noting down the feedback personally for me.
Okay,
It's just like in case
perfect.
we don't normally get that access,
Okay, for sure.
like
Yeah, because
during
I have
meeting.
I have my notes and then I can write it better as well. That's actually what I'm working on right now. But I wouldn't be able to get it done within this minute.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So you can just give it during do it during your evaluation section.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, Sonia, for the minute timer. So next I'd like to be introducing Sib. And Sib, was there a preferred time that you'd like for this particular speech?
Yes, 4 to 6 minutes. But before I start, who can be my American?
I can do that. I can
Okay.
relax now. I'll be your Amarian, and I'll be sending you the report privately once your speech is done.
Right. Thank you very much, Vincent. Before I start the speech, the prompt was, what was a chance encounter that changed either your habit or your lifestyle? And I don't recall any chance encounter changing my habit or my lifestyle. So I'm going to use the classic politician trick of answering a question I can actually answer rather than the one, or I prefer to answer rather than the one that was asked.
Yeah, definitely. That's perfect.
So my speech is going to be about a chance encounter that had a disproportionate change on my life, on the trajectory of my life. First, I would like to question the meaning of chance encounter because very often, whenever we meet someone, it's always under circumstances that we chose. So, what is chance really? In my case, I'm going to define chance encounter as someone I was not actively trying to meet or like meeting in a setup where that would be expected, like school or work, something like that. So very long ago, a long time ago, in a country far away, I happened to meet, I'm not sure how, a neighbor. It was in a country where we often talk to neighbors. So in that way, I suppose it cannot be said that it was entirely fortuitous. But this encounter did end up having a big impact on my life, disproportionate to the way I usually interacted with neighbors. That neighbor and I became such good friends that she ended up inviting me to stay in her, I suppose we would say, auntie house in the US, in the building that she had at the back of her house. I was a student. I didn't have much money. I gratefully accepted the offer. And a couple of years down the line, when I was looking at learning physics better, which I was doing on my own, because I was doing at the time a PhD in history of science, she suggested that I speak to a friend of hers, whom she knew who was a professor at the university and who was teaching in the physics department. So I did so. And I ended up taking 2 courses. Again, I don't know the phrase in the US. They would actually call it auditeur libre in France, although this was taking place in South Africa. Just attending the courses, not for credit. But because I did well in them, I was actually allowed to register for the degree, which was a separate degree directly in 4th year in South Africa. At least at the time, 4th year was a separate degree, which we called BSc Honors. So I thought, hey, a physics degree to my name, that's going to look good in history of science. Doing history of science, given my background is history. So I went for it, grateful for the opportunity, and ended up getting the BSc. And because I like the environment, I came back to do a master's at the same time as I was completing my PhD in history of science, working on my PhD in history of science. And while doing my master's, I met someone who I started dating and who quickly enough, within 6 months, a year, decided he wanted to do his PhD in the US. And feeling still very young, although I was not, being under the incorrect impression that I had all the time in the world ahead of me, I decided to go with him to the US and ended up doing a PhD in physics in the US while completing my PhD in history of science. Unfortunately, it took 10 years for me to complete the PhD in physics in the US because of a set of circumstances less fortuitous and less fortunate. And this changed my life in many ways, which I will not go into, but as you can imagine. So this is how just talking to your neighbor can sometimes end up completely changing the direction of your life many years down the line, because getting a job in history of science in the US has not been nearly as easy as it would have been for me to practice history of science in South Africa, unfortunately. And that is the end of my speech, with, I suppose, the advice of be careful when you talk to your neighbors. But do so. It is a very good habit. Very important for one's mental health, I do believe.
Thank you so much, Sid, for that powerful insight and how I guess your small talk with your neighbor got you to basically move across the country, based off the series of events. Thank you for
The
sharing that.
world, across the
The world,
world.
across the world, yes. I'd like to now take a moment of 1 minute, Sonia, if you could, to write feedback for Sib's impromptu speech. Thank you so much, Sonia. That concludes the first portion of today's meeting, the prepared speeches and our impromptu speech. Next, we'll be going on to the second section of a Toastmasters meeting, which is impromptu speeches. For today's impromptu speech section, it'll be led by Sanuj. Sanuj, thank you so much for being able to take this on. Since we are I'm double checking on the time, I think we have time until around 12:42, so I would target that for the cutoff.
Oh, sorry, for the table topics?
Yes, for the table topics.
I thought Betty was the TTM today.
Oh, sorry, you're right. My bad. Betty, as a table topics master, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm confused. So there's a third impromptu speaker. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My first question to everybody is who can answer this question. Have you ever chance encounter to some kind of environment that made you embarrassed and how you solve the issue? Have you ever chance encounter some kind of environment that made you embarrassed and how you solve the issue? Who want to answer this one? Or I can just nominate.
You can nominate too. If you could count like 1, 2, 3, and then just choose someone.
Okay. For someone not speak yet.
I'm happy to
Okay,
do this one.
Moa. Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.
Moad, if you'd like to take this, please feel free. I can go take the next one.
It's a hard one, so I give it to you, Sanush. I'm just looking for it.
There are many times in my life that I've found myself in a challenging situation and come away from it embarrassed. I feel that when I was younger, I would take the embarrassment as a negative attribute towards my character, and I wouldn't necessarily use it as a chance to grow. However, one thing I really enjoy about getting older is that I'm able to process those embarrassing moments and use them to decide what kind of behavior I want to carry forward. For example, I recently went to a family wedding a couple months back, and this was my first time seeing my cousins who I grew up with, spent almost every single weekend with after about 10 years. And it was a great time. But for me, I am the kind of person when I see you and I have love for you, I don't need to talk to you every day. I'll go back to acting the way we were before. However, it's also 10 years later, and we're all different people at this point. So what I would what I did actually was I would make the same jokes and behave in the similar manner. Of course, different due to age, but like essentially the same kind of feeling. And that's not a bad thing. However, then I saw how my cousin behaved. And to actually give more concrete examples, my jokes were deprecating. They were deprecating towards my cousins, whereas my cousin's jokes were more positive. And when I saw that, it made me really think and sorry, sit and think about it. And I ended up feeling embarrassed by my behavior because, of course, is anyone taking it in a negative manner? No, but it did make me go, I have two choices here. I can either make my cousin feel silly, or I can actually show them love in a different manner by being positive. And once I saw that, I actually found that to be a very impactful moment because since that moment forward, I have decided that moving forward, regardless of how I may feel, regardless of what may be going on, if I can spread positivity using my words rather than negativity, I will choose to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Yes, time flies when everybody grow every day. So for 10 years, you never see your cousin, maybe everybody change. So you cannot tell them the same joke, maybe they will explain to the different meaning. Understand? Thank you. Okay, second question is, Have you ever in chance encounter to meet someone that you want to see or you don't want to see for a long time? Have you ever chance encounter to meet someone that you want to see? I give you two choices. You want to see him or her, or you don't want to see him or her for a long time. And how you feel it. Thank you. Who want to do that?
I can take this one.
Okay, thank
So the question is, thank you for the question. So the question is, have you even chance encountered somebody, either somebody you don't want to see or somebody you want to see? Yes, I have one example that's come to mind. I will start with some context. My family likes doing those weekly reunions or meetings where everybody is present. Usually my grandmother leads the meeting, quote unquote, and she has 8 kids, so they all come and bring their kids. So usually it's 30, 40 people there. I had one uncle that was living abroad. Growing up, I had a good connection with him. He was one of the most successful people in the family. He went studied in UK, lived in the Middle East, lived in the US, and he had a lot of experience. He was a CEO of a big company. However, he usually not present, and I was always grateful for him growing up, giving me advice, sending me books. He bought me my first computer, and I still remember it. And that computer I used it to play video games and do all kind of stuff. So one day, I also another context. I left my home country myself. Been in the U.S. for around 14 years and outside of my country for almost 2 decades. One day, I came back as a surprise to see my family, and he was also outside of the country. But he just we happened to come back as a surprise at the same time. I wasn't expecting to see him, but it was a huge pleasure to be able to catch up with him and see obviously the rest of the family. To this day, I'm still grateful for him, and the way I want to thank him for his fortuitous interactions when I was growing up is to help his own kid. His kid is going through similar education as me, so I try to stay in touch with his kid, give them advice, same buy them book, sign them up for useful subscriptions, and give back to his kid as a thank you for how he helps me. Thank you.
you. More. Yeah, every family all has some people that are very outstanding. Then we just don't need to fear. We need to follow them. We don't need to fear jealous, right? And then we just need to learn, improve ourselves. We don't need to try to compare to everybody. Thank you for your answer. Okay. The third question is, have you ever fortunate need to make a quick decision and but it come out good result? Have you ever fortunate need to make a very quick decision and then it come out very good result? Who can answer this question? Good result, not good result, it doesn't matter. I give you more choice.
And by the way, Susan, if you are interested in answering this question, feel free to unmute and you can give this a shot as well. Sonia will be our timer, so she'll be showing different backgrounds to let you know once you've hit the minimum time and once you've hit the ending time. But you're more than welcome to also listen in for today too.
Hi, I think I'll listen in because I'm trying to understand how the flow goes. Then I'll try and join in next time.
Yeah, definitely. No problem. So the question's open for, I guess, Sonia, since you haven't had a chance to speak, would you be open to it?
Sure. Can I get a repeat of the question?
Thank you. Have you ever fortunate need to make quick decision and then it come out good result or bad result? You can give me your situation. Thank you.
A fortuitous, quick decision, good or bad. trying to think of something. I did at one point have a, well, okay, I have a great one here. I've talked many times about my pets, and one of my pets, uh, Abby Dabby Doo, Princess Abby Dabby Doo, she was old. She's about 30, was no, she died when she was about 18 years old. And my Tux baby, tuxedo cat, obviously, Tux baby, she got really upset and she was peeing all over everything. And so took her to the vet, got her checked out for a UTI just to be sure that it wasn't something physical. And came home with a prescription for a kitten from the vet. And so I started looking for cats online. I wanted to adopt. And so we went to a couple of different fosters, didn't really like it. The cats were like, it was meh, whatever. We went to a third one and we met Fuji and her brother, Gala, which was a really weird name for a boy cat. They're all named after apples in the entire uh, uh, set of cats. And so we left and we started talking about it and we're like, we really want Fuji. Or at least I really wanted Fuji. He wanted Gala. And so I was like, I'm getting Fuji. And he's like, but I really want Gala. And so we called William and we called his parents because we were living at his parents' house at the time. And so we were like, can we have both the cats in your house? Because we were living in their house. And so we went back. I was like, okay, we're going to adopting both of them. So it was kind of a quick decision on we're taking both cats. We couldn't take them home that day because they still had to go through a whole process to get the cats. But it was a relatively quick decision that they were going to be ours. And within about 2 days, no, it was less than 2 days, I went and picked him up and brought him home. And Tux Baby has never had that problem again. She stopped peeing on everything that was on the floor. So it was a very good decision, and we love our cats. Gala became Galileo because he has a very inquisitive mind. He likes to look at everything. Likes to explore everything. But I wanted to keep the name close to his original name. But yeah, so we have now 3 cats, and we love them all. But, so thank you very much. That's the best story I could come up with.
Thank you, Sonia. Very good example for my question. Actually, when you're talking about this, I just think about my second doggy, Gaga. I call her Lady Gaga. Is fortunate to run into a pastor in the church, and then he said he want to get rid of his doggy. And then I just went to his family farm and then just checked the doggy. And then he stole nature, just gave to me. So I just stole nature to receive the dog. And then stole nature to have a second dog. I don't expect it to. But it's good, though. Sometimes 2 dogs is good. Sometimes it's not good. Good is they have a good company. Not good is sometimes they're jealous to each other. They will want you to have them, and then they will fight. So, but it's good to have 2 anyway. Then I don't expect it. Anyway, okay, thank you for today's table topic. Back to our table Toastmaster, Vincent.
Thank you so much, Betty, for acting as the table topics master for today and filling in for Daniel. So that concludes the second section of today's meeting. Next, we'll be going to the third section, evaluations, before our final one to wrap it up. So I'd like to call on our general evaluator for today, Sanuj, to help lead this section. Over to you, Sanuj.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster. For the first part, we'll be moving on to the EV1. So EV1 is also sentence and call. So I'll be turning the floor over to him. So yeah, for my evaluation, Vincent, I would like to highlight 2 parts or 2 things that I truly loved about your speech and 3 places where I found a chance for improvement. So for the first part, I really enjoyed your speech. I found it both practical, I found it thought-provoking, and I really liked the use, especially of the PowerPoint slide. The visuals made it easier to understand what you were trying to convey. So I found that to be very strong. The section on providing feedback was very interesting because that's directly tied to what I'm doing currently. It made me think about how to give you a better feedback rather than an assessment. And that's what I'm going to be trying to utilize properly when I go into the chances for improvement. So, for the three chances of improvement, I think that I think the overall theme of the improvement section that I'll give uh, is related to my personal thought process when it comes to giving a speech, which is that personal tie-in. So even when you gave the speech, I felt like the speech itself was important to you because it's a process that you went through to learn. So I would have really appreciated a callback to why ultra learning was important to you at the end of the speech. I found myself kind of trying to figure that out of, oh, okay, why did we go over this? Even though I found it to be helpful, I did find myself searching for that. The other part that I would have also liked to better understand is why did you select these three topics specifically out of the nine possible to go over them? So if you had provided, oh, okay, like for example, the examples that you gave, they were all very relevant to what you did, but had you just explained that one step a little bit more, I think it could have conveyed more emotion in your speech. And then finally, I would have found it helpful to have the meaning of directness explained in your speech. Of course, with your examples on retrieval and feedback, they made sense. I mean, when you said retrieval, it reminded me of taking Cornell style notes in high school. When you talked about feedback, it made me directly think of how to provide feedback rather than an assessment. But with directness, I wasn't sure why you shared the example that you did until I looked up the meaning of what directness is. So had you done that in the speech, it would have allowed me to immediately connect and understand that. Overall, the speech was really well done. Again, the use of the PowerPoint slide made it very overall easy to understand what you were talking about. And it was a very well structured speech with strong examples. So thank you for doing that. Okay, now we'll be moving on to the second evaluation. I believe, Vincent, you'll be providing that for Sib.
Oh, in this case, it'll be Moad,
Yeah.
our guest.
Yeah, I'll take it. Thank you so much. I think this was a great speech for an impromptu speech. It's very hard to come up with stories on the fly like that. I like here, Sib, how you pivoted at the beginning. I don't think you had the direct answer to the question, but you were able to step back and frame it differently. Also, you started by questioning the meaning of chance in culture to begin with. So I like that step back and philosophical approach to the question before diving deep into it. For me, one thing that in the opening that I liked, you were able to attract our attention. I remember you used in a country far, far away back in the time. So I was excited, like what was going to happen next. So I like that part. Also, this was a very personal story, which added more, I would say, value to and more attention from the listeners. So plus one to that part as well. So I'm looking at my notes. I think the structure was good. It was kind of chronological. You went to the US, you met your neighbor, they give you a referral, then you moved to a different country, South Africa, I believe. Then you moved back to the US for another PhD. So I think it was easy to follow overall, at least for me. One thing also I would say a big plus is you ended up with a call to action that be careful when you take advice from when you talk to your neighbor. In terms of, I would say, things that I would say potentially could improve, and this apply also to myself, to be candid. One is I'm not sure if you have two screens or one screen. Is mainly eye contact. I noticed. I think when you're looking, you fixate on a different location and then you look back. Again, it's not a big deal. It just would be nice to improve. And one other thing is a bit of maybe a retro in terms of the decision you made, right? Because you talked to a neighbor, you had a referral, you made a decision, then you met somebody you dated, you moved with them. And I think you mentioned you dropped from the second PhD at some point, if I remember correctly. I think what would be maybe nice, just very high level, again, it's a personal story, is like, what did you learn? Like next time, maybe if you have to do this again, what would you have done differently? Would you have consulted with somebody else? You had approached this differently. I think this could have added more to the overall speech. But again, for impromptu, this was really amazing. And thank you for sharing your story. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Maud, for your wonderful evaluation. So for next, we'll go to Sonia for the timings. Okay, thank you for sharing that report. And then to Seb for the American report, please.
And apologies, I do know that we are a bit short on time. So, if you can just highlight what was the key thing for each person instead of a strict approach. Like, what was the favorite Oz or that each person
Okay.
used instead?
So Sonia had a couple of arms and a couple of saws in, but not directly, and so couple of saws in and so. Betty, you said, have you chanced encountered, as if chance encounter was a verb? In fact, it is a noun, so you would say to have a chance encounter. And you use the phrase jealous to each other, and the phrase would be jealous of each other, I believe. And that's what I have. Everything else was.
Right. Thank you so much, Sib. Oh, actually,
Oh,
Sunil, sorry, it's you.
no worries. Okay, I'll be quick in my GE report. Yes, so overall, great meeting. Really enjoyed the evaluation and the table topic that you did, Maud. Thank you, Susan, for joining as well. We were, of course, running a little bit behind today, looking at where we should be and where we are currently. We're about 5 minutes behind. So that's the only opportunity for improvement that I see for the next meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Sanuj, and thank you for that feedback. Timing is always tricky, but we hope we can get everyone out on time. Uh, Sib, you wanted to add something?
Just that, Susan, if you want to talk more about the club, feel free to email me. I've given you my email in the chat.
Thank you so much, Sib.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you for that.
Pleasure.
and just wanted to follow up with a guest quickly before we close. So, Susan, how was your experience with Toastmasters, and do you have any feedback for us as a club?
Okay, so for me, for the Toastmasters, the impromptu, I don't know how, but when I'm doing like a public speech, I'm usually like really tensed. So when you were asking for like the impromptus, I was like, oh my God, you need to be alert. I don't know if they'll call me to like present or something, but like I feel like if I'll be able to join next time, then I will also try to contribute so that I can end the fear of trying to give my thoughts and opinions on each and every topic that is being talked about. So for me, the experience today was quite insightful, to be honest. I feel like if I continue, then maybe I will be able to get rid of the fear of presenting or doing public speeches. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I definitely hope to see you next time, and you can give table topics a shot before eventually transitioning to what Sib was doing, which was a longer form impromptu speech. So Sib only had about what, 5 minutes or so, 6 minutes to think of a topic.
hmm
Our club specializes in impromptu speeches, so if you're looking for improvement there, our club is someone I definitely recommend.
Okay, thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on Moan. What were your thoughts this third time around? Anything different? How's your experience with the evaluations?
Great meeting, like the usual, and thank you for the opportunity for being evaluated for the first time in Toastmasters. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ahmad. Hi, and I believe we'll just quickly talk about the roles for next week. So, Sunuj, are you okay with being a Toastmaster of the day for next week? Would that work? Otherwise, we can find a fill as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to try. It's just right now, the only thing is it depends on my workload. So as you may have noticed, if I'm not able to come in, I may have to just say that I'm not able to come. But I'm happy to be Toastmaster of the day if that works.
Yeah, definitely. And then you can send us a message by Monday or so if you notice like things might look a bit tricky for Tuesday,
Yeah.
and we'll be able to work something out.
Okay, definitely.
Was there anyone who'd like to give a paired speech for next week? Sim, did you want to give this a go? No, no prepared speech. Sonia, I think gave one recently. Betty gave one recently for impromptu as well. But yeah, in case you can take a look, so I'll just send out a message. Take a look at your pathways, see if there's a speech that you feel like you want to talk about really quick, or if you want a question on that day of to be like, I'm gonna give like an impromptu pathway speech related to this. I think that works too. Just let us know in advance. Oh, season each. I'll go post a poll for next week for the roles. That way we can end the meeting a little bit later, but mostly on time. So I'll post the poll for next week. So I'll say thank you everyone for coming, and if you did take a moment to silence your cell phones, put it back on volume so you can get all your notifications. And with that, look forward to seeing everyone next week. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.